And I think that it's stuff like this that shows why D.C. is never going to be a state.
D.C. is never going to become a state.
Isn't it crazy that this is our nation's capital?
Yes.
It honestly blows my mind why Republicans always feel like they have to take some sort of contrarian stance towards giving people voting rights and access to a government that is literally situated above them.
D.C. is never going to be a state because they come up with crazy ideas like this. The Congress still oversees D.C. They will probably have to step in here, and the calls for D.C. statehood will again go by the wayside.
Can Congress step in and do something?
Isn't it crazy that this is our nation's capital?
Yes.
And it's basically it's a Somalia. I mean, it's just a crime-ridden mess.
Washington, D.C. is actually a reflection of where American democracy is right now. The infrastructure for proper housing and food support for undeserved communities is lacking. There is no representation. There's corruption amok. This all boils down to a political game for Republicans. They are willing to throw the people of Washington, D.C. by the wayside because the question of statehood is leveraged upon bipartisan politics.
One of the biggest myths about D.C. statehood is that it's unconstitutional because it would turn the federal capital into a state. In reality, the federal capital remains. It just gets shrunk to where the White House, Capitol, National Mall, and other federal buildings are. It gets a new name. The rest of the land, where 700,000 people live, would become a state called Washington, D.C.
It's about controlling the number of states that are Republican-leaning versus Democrat-leaning. So it's not about the people. It's not about giving voice to people. It's not instilled in democratic impulses. It's instilled in a conquest of power. Watch this.
You know, D.C. statehood, Larry Elder, many people may not know. I know you're a lawyer by trade. Other states cannot be admitted without an amendment to our Constitution. Am I wrong or right on that, sir?
Sean, as if they care. You know, the last time we admitted two states, they were Alaska and Hawaii. And the reason that was doable is because both parties could come to an agreement because it was expected that one state would be Republican and one state would be Democrat. And it was. In this case, if D.C. became a state and then ultimately Puerto Rico, which is next on the docket, it would produce 4 new Republican senators and 2 new Republican House members, and Democrats still wanted to do it. I would believe them when they say that they're doing this because they want these people to have representation. This is, as Mr. Vance just now said, all about power. And
ultimately, the question of D.C. statehood, as it dates back to Alaska and Hawaii, and even more recently with the question of Puerto Rico, it ultimately boils down to a question of power, of bipartisan litigation. That's not what politics was built for. It's about giving a constituency of people direct representation, to give people the power to collectivize and come together and affect their government to impact their lives. It's a bad thing to spread democracy or to be generous with our democratic impulses. We have to follow them. We're about power to the people, and they're about power to the powerful. This is Adrian Costa, The Breakdown. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and check back for more videos. See you guys soon.